So, I hereby welcome you all once again to the online educational resource program of Zoological Society of Assam. Today, we are going to have a look into as to what the study of animal behavior is all about. Now, let us first see as to what are the learning outcomes. So we will get to know as to why do we study animal behavior, then what is the meaning and the various definitions, general definitions of animal behavior. We will look into the differences between the psychological and ethological approach to the study of animal behavior. We will have a peep into the meaning of ethology and its various definitions, as well as the areas of study in ecology. Now, this lecture is basically meant for the undergraduate students. Now, suppose you are standing in front of a field, a bird comes in, it starts walking, picks up a worm, and then flies away. Now, when we look at this, there are several questions which come to our mind. What are they? The first is as to how does the bird feed? Then why has it chosen this particular place to forage? Why not some other place? Why is it alone rather than in a flock? Does it collect every food item it encounters, or is it selective for the prey type or size? What influences its decision to stop collecting and fly back to feed its chicks? Now, these are the sort of questions that we today try to answer when we look into the ecological aspect of behavior of a particular species. That is more particularly the science of ethology. Having said that, one thing basically is very clear from this short discussion that we have made right now, and it is that the study of behavior of animals has today moved more and more from laboratory studies to the field study of animal behavior. In earlier times, if you remember, say Ivan Pavlov, the experiment that he performed, he brought the dog to the laboratory, put it under a harness, and then it was shown meat, and as a result of the sight of the meat, the amount of salivation that was taking place that was measured. So those were the earlier stages of study of animal behavior. Today we concentrate more and more under natural conditions, and that too in the field. So this particular change has taken place in the normal process of zoology, that is even in the study of animal taxonomy, wherein we have moved from the study of morphological characters to the study of, say, ecological characters to the study of behavioral characters in taxonomy. So definitely the study of behavior has also moved more and more from the laboratory into the field. Now let us look as to why do we study animal behavior. Now, Rickamer and Vesey, they have listed out certain very interesting reasons as to why do we go for the study of animal behavior. First is curiosity about the living world. Secondly, we need to know what is the relationship between the animals and their environments, and that can best be expressed and understood only when we study animal behavior. Then establish general principles common to all behavior. Say feeding behavior, is it common to a particular group of birds or is it common in all animals and so on. Then better understand our own behavior. Conserve and protect the endangered species. Say if we need to conserve rhinoceros, we need to understand its behavioral aspects. And when we are doing so, we have a desire to preserve and maintain the environment. Only after the endangered species are protected can the environment be maintained in an apt manner. And finally, uh, in order to control economically costly animal pests, there also the study of animal behavior is playing a major role. Now, let us look into some of the general definitions of animal behavior. The first is that behavior is observable and quantifiable event. Observable, we can observe that a bird is flying, we can observe that a particular animal is running, and so on. And quantifiable, that is, we must be able to time it out for how much time that particular behavior has been taking place. So, observable and quantifiable events, they constitute behavior. It is a directional activity necessary for survival. Say, if we see a bird flying, the bird might be flying because it is escaping from a predator, or it might be flying because it is flying after a prey. The flying of the bird may be related to migration. So, all these perspectives, when we look at these perspectives, are necessary for the survival of that particular bird. So, whatsoever behavior is performed that is observable and quantifiable and it is directional, that is goal oriented, necessary for survival, that is defined as behavior. Next definition is the response of living matter to some form of stimulus from the environment and influenced by various internal factors. Now, what is a stimulus? Stimuli are changes in the environment, internal or external, to which an animal normally responds. Now, this definition was given by Philip Lehner in the year 1998. Now, stimuli may be external when it is based upon senses, light, heat, or danger, or it may be internal when it is based upon, suppose, hunger, thirst, love, or pain. So, response to a stimulus. So, the next definition of animal behavior is what? That is, it is totality of animals' movements, right? Sound emissions, and body postures. Also, the externally noticeable changes such as color change, secretion of odorous substances that serve bilateral communication and can therefore release the behavior of its partner. Now, let us look into the breakup of this definition. What is it? The totality of an animal's first part is movements. Second is what? Sound emissions. Say, suppose this is the sound of coil. Body postures, the body postures that it is making, and along with that, is there any color change? Is there any secretion of any odorous substance such as pheromones? So in this case, all of these, that is the movements, the sound emissions, the body postures, the change in color, the secretion of odorous substance, they act as a stimuli. And what do they do is that they release the behavior of its partner and serve for bilateral communication between the two. Next general definition of the study of animal behavior is all those processes by which an animal senses the external world and adapts itself to the environment. So, animal senses the external world and goes through a process of adaptation that is known as animal behavior. That is known as the study of animal behavior. We human beings have five senses in particular: touch, sight, hearing, smell, and taste. But animals, some animals in particular, are much more sensitive in the sense that dolphins, whales, we know that they use echolocation. Fish have the lateral line system with the help of which it detects changes in water pressure. Snakes use the Jacobson's organ for smelling. Sharks and some other fish, they are sensitive to electrical fields generated by other animals in water, and they use this information to track their prey. Now, let us come to our main issue, that is the science of ethology. Now, the term ethology was coined by the French zoologist Isidore Geoffroy Saint-Hilaire. The term ethology is derived from two Greek words, ethos meaning habit and convention meaning logos or study. Ethologists are basically interested in the biology of a species, and the prime focus is the scientific and objective study of animal behavior as it occurs under natural conditions. That is, the prime focus is to observe the animals in their original habitat. Now, there have been three Nobel laureates in ethology. Karl von Frisch, he is very well known for deciphering the waggle dance of honeybees. Then we have Lawrence and Nicholas Tinbergen. Lawrence is known for his work on the imprinting of birds. Nicholas Tinbergen, he wrote a book on instincts. They won they are the recipients of the Nobel Prize in 1973. Out of these three scientists, Lawrence and Tinbergen are called the founding fathers of the science of ethology. Now let us look into the definition of ethology. As per Lawrence, ethology can be defined as the application of orthodox biological methods to the study of behavior. Now, what are orthodox biological methods? Say, basically, what we do is that we frame a hypothesis on the basis of little knowledge that we have, and then we proceed through a scientific procedure to test out whether the hypothesis is correct or not in order to arrive at a conclusion. Such a method is known as orthodox biological method. The other definition is given by Esner and Wilson, and they say that ethology is the study of whole pattern of animal behavior under natural conditions. So, the totality of animal behavior, the totality of behavior performed by an animal in nature, in its own prime original habitat, when we study that, that is known as ethology, in ways to emphasize the functions and evolutionary history of patterns. What is it? We are coming to it in a moment. Now, very often a distinction is made between the psychological versus ethological approach to behavior, and definitely there are certain differences. Psychology deals with basically motivation, stimuli, and behavior, fine, whereas ethology deals with animal behavior per se. Per se basically means what the animal is doing by itself in nature under natural conditions in its own habitat. In psychology, researchers they study animal behavior in context of what is known about human psychology. Here, the main focus is on animal anatomy, physiology, neurobiology, and phylogenetic history. Psychologists they concentrate more on learned behaviors, ethologists on innate behaviors, psychology studies behavior under artificial conditions, ethologists they study behavior under natural conditions. In psychology, we gain understanding of behavior from a very few species and then try to extrapolate this knowledge to other species. Whereas in ethology, we are just interested in understanding the behavior of a wide range of species. And what we do is that we try to compare this across taxonomic groups so that it yields information of taxonomic value which can be used in the classification of organisms. Now, definitely, these two approaches are complementary rather than competitive. Today, we have an integration of both these approaches, but sometimes, even though the integration is there, sometimes conflicts of opinion do arise about matters of importance. Now, let us look into the areas of study in ethology. Now, behavior is what an animal does. However, ethologists do not restrict themselves to examining only what an animal does. According to Lehner, ethology also includes the study of when, how, why, and where of behavior. Now, let us look into the meaning of each of these one by one. What is basically the description of the behavior of the particular animal. When? This is the temporal component of behavior as to when the behavior is being performed. What we may try to analyze is that when the behavior is being performed related to the lifetime of a particular animal or what particular time of the day the behavior is getting performed or is the behavior specific to a particular season and so on. So the duration of the behavior and the contribution to the animal's time budget, this we will get to know when we go into the methods of study of animal behavior, that is time budgeting or activity budgeting. They are also considered within the category of when of behavior. How means what are the motor patterns used in accomplishing a goal-oriented behavior. Say suppose flying from one tree to another, and what are the underlying physiological mechanisms beneath or underlying it. Now, studies of relevant stimuli associated with behavior are also included in this category. Definitely, uh, the behavior is elicited in response to the stimulus, so that is included in the how of behavior. Why? Why is the behavior getting performed? There are two issues underlying it. One is motivation, and the other is that the animal may be adapted to perform that particular behavior. Where this is the spatial aspect of behavior. Studies include where a behavior occurs geographically or related to other animal or environmental parameters. Next is Tinbergen's four questions. Many ethologists, instead of going into the why when of behavior, they are more interested in categorization of behavior based upon four areas of study in ethology, that is function, causation, ontogeny, and evolution. Now let us look into them one by one. Now suppose the example that we take is of quail, Eudynamis colopacius. It sings or calls during the breeding season. So, what is the cause behind it? Quail calls because the increasing length of the day triggers changes in the hormones. So, the answer to the causation part lies in the sensory and nervous systems, the hormonal mechanisms behind it, as well as the skeletal muscular control which is responsible for the coil making the call. In terms of development or ontogeny, coil calls, because they have learned the songs from the parents and neighbors and have a genetic disposition to learn the song of their own species. So basically, the genetical and developmental mechanisms behind the behind the study of behavior comes under the development or ontogeny part. In terms of adaptive advantage or function, coil calls to attract mates for breeding, and so singing increases the reproductive success. And finally, if we look into the evolutionary history of phylogeny, the answer would be that how the song had evolved in coil from the avian ancestors. One thing is sure, that the earlier avian ancestors probably did not have such an elaborate call, and the call was only rudimentary, from which the beautiful call of coil has today evolved. So thank you for your patient hearing. If you want to explore this particular topic further, you can go through the book Introduction to Behavioral Ecology or Handbook of Ethological Methods written by Lerner. And there's a book written by me as well. And you can mail me your feedback at raj.manideep@gmail.com.